This past offseason, Lamar Jackson was in one of the more interesting contract negotiation situations that I can remember. Lamar had stated he wanted to sign a long-term deal with the Baltimore Ravens, but they were unable to reach an agreement, meaning that the Ravens had to use one of two types of franchise tags, the non-exclusive or exclusive. They chose to use the non-exclusive tag, meaning that if any team signed Lamar, the Ravens could match the offer and Lamar would remain a Raven. It's similar to the NBA's handling of restricted free agents. Had the Ravens declined to match the contract offer Lamar signed with another team, the team signing Lamar would have had to give the Ravens 2 first-round picks. Essentially, even if Lamar wanted to go to another team, it would have been incredibly difficult to do so. It did end up working out for both sides. The Ravens managed to retain their star quarterback, and they have their sights set on competing for a Super Bowl. While Lamar was able to sign one of the most lucrative contracts in the NFL, being the highest paid player on a per-year average at $52 million a year, and he accomplished this deal without the help of an agent. Miles Sanders, the new running back for the Panthers, also had this to say this offseason about the state of the running back market.
I think it's BS, honestly. There's almost every running back in the league is underpaid right now. I don't know what's going to take, but I don't know. But that's a topic that needs to be, brought up a little bit more because it sucks to be a running back right now, honestly.
And then things went haywire when not a single running back signed to a long-term deal before the deadline. Not Saquon Barkley, not Tony Pollard, not Josh Jacobs, the rushing yards leader from last season.
The reality is this: the running back market and/or position is broken.
So, this got me thinking. Is there a way to fix the running back market while simultaneously creating a method to avoid a future contract situation like the one Lamar Jackson had this offseason? If I said to you, you could add any rule to the NFL CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, the agreement between the players and owners, what would you add? If I had my way and I could write the NFL CBA, I'd institute fully guaranteed contracts for every player, regardless of position. But I know that's never going to happen. What about a rule that if a player were to win any of the awards designated by the NFL, or if any player was an All-Pro selection, they would be allowed to void their contract at the end of the season and immediately become a free agent? I don't know if that's legal, but what I do know is it doesn't matter, because neither team owners nor team fans would be in favor of this idea. Players certainly would be, but they make up just 25% of the people in this equation. Team owners wouldn't want this proposal to be enacted because team owners love having high-impact players on cheap deals. Fans wouldn't like this proposal because it could mean losing one of your best players in free agency just a season after they were either an award winner or an All-Pro. I'm not short-sighted, well, at least not on this topic. I know this is a pipe dream that won't happen, so I have a few other proposals that might be more reasonable. The first change I would make is that any player winning an award like MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, etc., or any player named All-Pro on either the first or second team would be ineligible for the franchise tag. Teams wouldn't be allowed to use the exclusive or non-exclusive tag. Full stop. This would give players a bit more freedom to switch to another team, and it would allow these players to get a long-term deal instead of playing on the tag and risking injury. One point of issue is that 50 sports journalists vote for the NFL honors and All-Pro, and they could have bias, especially if one of the players up for an award or All-Pro is on their favorite team. They might be more likely to vote for another player as not to lose their team's ability to franchise tag that player. If you follow the NBA, you know that we've seen some issues in the NBA when it comes to all NBA selections. To combat these potential biases in the NFL, I'd also institute league-wide yardage and touchdown thresholds. Even if a player isn't named to an All-Pro team or doesn't win an award, if they are able to still produce over the course of their first contract, they too would be ineligible for the franchise tag. For example, if we take running backs for instance, 1,000 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns are seen as a solid season for a running back. If a player is under contract for 4 seasons, the yardage threshold would be set at 4,000 rushing yards, and the touchdown threshold would be set at 24 touchdowns. In 2022, 19 players would have crossed the season threshold for touchdowns, and 15 players would have crossed the season threshold for yards to keep pace with what they would need to average per season for those 4 seasons. The thresholds are at this point arbitrary. It could be 800 yards or 5 touchdowns a season. I'm just advocating for some kind of threshold for players that don't get All-Pro nods or awards because of something inexplicable happening, For instance, a guy getting overlooked for All-Pro or for an award. A secondary benefit to this would be that players on teams that aren't competitive would be less likely to sit out 1 or 2 games at the end of a season because they would be more incentivized to reach these benchmarks, which would be great for fantasy football, gambling, and most importantly, would help reduce tanking. If we do away with the franchise tag as I'm proposing, teams are going to be upset, so we need to create a fair way for teams to retain their players. One way to incentivize players to still re-sign with the team that drafted them is to adopt a system like the NBA has with bird rights and restricted free agents. Bird rights allow teams to sign players to more money than other teams, and restricted free agents allow teams to go over the cap. Currently in the NFL, if a team goes over the salary cap, they will be fined and could potentially lose draft picks because the NFL has what is known as a hard cap. What if we change that? What if teams could go over the cap, but only if they are signing players in free agency that they drafted? We would restrict players from being signed to deals over the cap who went to another team and are making their way back to the original team that drafted them. And as previously mentioned, in the NBA, teams can sign players over the cap if those players are restricted free agents. The teams extend a qualifying offer to a player before free agency, and if that player signs with another team, the original team can match the offer. That exact process is not what I'm advocating for the NFL. Instead of tagging players with a non-exclusive tag, which would force a player back to the team that tagged them, they should let the player be a complete free agent. If the player chooses their original team, the team should be able to offer more money than another team and go over the cap. An example might be this. Instead of the Ravens tagging Lamar Jackson with the non-exclusive tag this past offseason, he would have been a free agent to sign with any team under my proposal. But if a team made an offer to Lamar that would put the Ravens over the cap, the Ravens would have been allowed to match or increase their contract offer to Lamar, even if it exceeded the cap. For instance, if during the 2022 offseason the Falcons had $52 million in cap space and offered Lamar $52 million a year, but the Ravens only had $30 million in cap space, under the current system the Ravens would not have been able to sign Lamar. How about a second example, but this time under this new system I'm proposing? What if both the Ravens and Falcons had $52 million in cap space, and each team offered Lamar a contract worth $52 million per year? It would basically be a coin flip for Lamar's choice, Ravens or Falcons, unless we add one additional provision, giving the original team that drafted Lamar 3 days to up their offer, even if Lamar had already signed an offer sheet with the Falcons. In this scenario, the Ravens could offer Lamar $53 million per year, which would be $1 million more than the Falcons and $1 million over their cap. This would give the Ravens a slight edge contract-wise to sign Lamar, because everyone wants to sign for more money if they can. But ultimately, it would still be Lamar's choice. Lamar could still pick the Falcons over the Ravens at less money per year, but it would give the Ravens a better chance to keep Lamar because they could offer more money. Those previous proposals, I believe, would help most players get the best possible deal, but it doesn't move the needle enough for running backs.
Because this is my leverage. My leverage is, I can say to the Giants, I can say to my teammates and be like, you want me to show you my worth? You want to show you how valuable I am to the team? I won't show up. I won't play it down. And that's a play I can use. Anybody knows me, knows that's not something I want to do. But like, it's something that crossed my mind. It's like, I never thought I would ever do that. But like, now I'm at a point where it's like, Jesus, like I might have to take it to this level.
The market value of a running back is declining year to year because the league is more pass happy. There are more games now, 17 opposed to 16. Teams use running backs with specificity, think Jerick McKinnon, and the average career length of a running back is just 2.57 seasons. One way to combat running backs missing out on favorable contracts is to change the way rookie contracts work. Currently, the NFL employs a 4-year contract-based system for drafted rookies. All rookie contracts of drafted players are 4-year deals, excluding first-round picks who have a 5th-year team option. If picked up by their team, the money for that season becomes guaranteed. But what if the NFL switched from all rookies receiving 4-year deals to a system based on position? Meaning, what if running backs were given just 2-year deals and first-round running backs had 3rd-year team options? Running backs could become free agents much sooner and would command more value on the market because there wouldn't be a significant amount of tread on the tires. Take, for example, a 22-year-old rookie running back taken in the first round. If a team keeps that player for 5 years, that running back would be a free agent at age 27, the same age Zeke Elliott is. The same Zeke Elliott who has yet to secure a new deal with an NFL team. With NIL the way it is, we might start to see league-ready running backs stay in college, which is not beneficial to the NFL. With these rule changes, running backs could become free agents at age 23 or 24 instead of 26 or 27. And with the previous rule changes I proposed, teams could go over the salary cap in order to retain their running backs. Do NFL fans like any of these changes? NFL players? How about NFL owners? I'm not really sure, but if the NFLPA likes any of these changes, it will be up to them to get these rule changes instituted when it comes time to sign a new CBA in 2030. And if they're smart, they'll sign a shorter deal, giving them a chance to renegotiate after, say, 5 years, as opposed to 10. So if an issue like this happens again, they'll have a chance to fix it. With that, thank you for your time.
It was always me versus me. It was never me versus you, and now I'm good. Wake up and I do my part.